Hello and welcome to the Upset Podcast. Tonight we are talking about fathers. Coming up next. Hey, once again, welcome back to the Upset Podcast. We're so happy that you tuned in on this Father's Day Sunday. And last week, there were 3 of us. But guess what, guys? This week, look at all these great people. Hey.
It's Father's Day.
It's Father's Day. See, we show up for fathers, right? We show up for fathers.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
How's everybody?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Feeling good.
Yeah, my birthday was yesterday.
Oh,
June
wow.
15th. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Happy belated
Yeah,
birthday.
thank you.
Happy birthday.
It's the 16th.
That was like 2 or 3 days.
How old are you now?
Oh, I'm only 46, you know.
Oh, that's all. Oh, yeah.
Oh man, you're a baby.
I remember when I was 46. That's crazy.
Right.
Abraham Lincoln pronounced the Emancipation Proclamation. And
I thought it was more when you was knocking on the ark.
Oh, no.
You notice he said he was knocking on it. He wasn't inside.
Yeah, my son's birthday was yesterday as well. We have the same birthday, so I planned it just right.
Is it you and your daughter?
My son.
Oh, wow.
Ken, did you just say that you planned it?
Yeah, I did. I said that. Planned it just right.
right.
Just right. My dad's birthday is actually June 14th, so you know,
Wow.
we were all aiming for June 14th, but we made it on June 15th, so it's all good.
And mine is tomorrow, June 17th.
That's right. That's right. Mine is tomorrow.
Best day on the earth.
hey.
We got a lot of June babies in
I
here.
know.
And what birthday will that be, Marlena?
If I tell you, I have to kill you.
Well, we're happy that you're all seeing another year.
Yes.
Yes, God is good.
All right, guys. So what's going on in the world? What's popping up in your timelines? What are people talking about in your circles?
As you can see, we live really active and exciting lives.
I don't know if I could say what I said in the green room, but
Oh yeah, the news. Yeah. Oh, come on, don't be
I
afraid.
think you know what? To stay home, I like what I'm seeing at all the other camp meetings that's going on.
Oh yeah, I've been checking out those out.
I mean, I hear it's just knocking out of the water. Everybody's doing their thing at all these different camp meetings, and so I'm staying and listening to all the preachers and the music. It's really great, and I think Tally was the one that started it all off.
Yeah, is South Central the first one? Like of the regional conferences, are they the first?
It First is. weekend.
Kick it off, right?
Tally's was the first one. South Central.
Yeah, and I know Southwest is going on now. Allegheny West is going on now. So okay.
I bring you greetings from your brethren down in the South Central states. I always wanted to do, as a young pastor, I always wanted to go somewhere and say, I bring you greetings.
From what, the retirees club? What do you tell them when you do? How did you start? I really want to know. How do you start? Where you tell me you come from?
Oh, when I bring them greetings from the Allegheny East Conference.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Always, you know.
Go ahead.
easy.
Yeah, despite all of the things that we've gone through here in this conference, I am a proud member of the Allegheny East.
Yep.
Shall be until I die.
Yep.
And according to the Allegheny East, that'll be sooner rather than later. But there was
Tally, man. Tally.
it was quite a vibrant camp meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice. So,
Amen.
GP, how's Camp Pitch going?
Oh, it's wonderful. We're getting things done and having a great time while we're getting them done.
Okay. All right.
I miss it, in some cases I do. That's where you get to to let down your hair.
Well, Pat, I guess you laid yours down many years.
I guess I did.
Yeah, if I live close, I wouldn't mind doing Camp Pitch, but
I'll be really honest with you. I mean, I come from
They stay on the campus though, so you could come.
No excuses, she's saying, Keenan.
No excuses.
You see his face?
I'll see you there next week.
He said he can't hear static.
Yeah.
I come from the days when Camp Pitch was mandatory, and it was ritual. And I will readily tell you, I think that we miss a lot by not having the old style Camp Pitch, because the relationships that we forged, second to none.
It lasts forever too.
Lasts forever. I just left a group of guys with whom I used to do Camp Pitch that I've known for 40 years. And,
Wow.
I mean, it was a good thing. It forged meaningful collegial connections that served us very well.
So you had a Camp Pitch reunion.
Yeah, man. We could smell the canvas in the air.
I wonder if you guys could still pitch a tent. Like, can you if you guys got together and got to?
We can't pitch a softball right now. I think back to what me, Larry Bass, Ron Edmonds. I mean, we would have races to see if we could single-handedly pitch a tent.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we would do stuff that were feats of great strength. I mean, we come right out of the book of Samuel and Kings and Chronicles, where it says, and he went down into a snowy pit and killed a lion on a snowy day.
Oh wow!
Men were men and sheep were nervous when we were coming along.
Oh
wow!
But it's true. If you watch all the old heads put a tent together, they're tying it like I've seen like Uncle Charlie use one hand and just tie the knot real quick with one hand.
It was
these guys are good.
Day,
yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of storytelling.
Oh my Lord. It was really rich. In those days, there were guys who didn't like each other, but you knew how to get along because Camp Pitch made you get along. And I mean, you might not like the guy, but you definitely had his back.
Yeah.
This is making me think of doing like a Camp Pitch documentary.
Oh man, that'd be rich.
It really would. Oh man. Oh.
Back then versus now.
Yeah.
There's no now. There's just a bunch of guys.
See, they go tally. They go tally.
Don't let them talk about it.
They go tally.
The work is fallen greatly.
Yeah. But yeah, this is just a plug. We'll be coming live from camp meeting in a couple of weeks. So Upset will be on the grounds of our camp meeting. So we're looking forward to that. All right, guys. Well, it's Father's Day, and we want to make sure we give as much time to our discussion about fathers as we possibly can. We can't say it enough. Happy Father's Day to all of our Upset fathers, all of our fathers watching. We're here to talk a little bit about that today, and Keenan's going to lead us in a little discussion right now. Take it away, Keenan.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, far and near. So what are we talking about? Fathers. We're talking about dads and the importance of being a father. So we're going to jump right into it. There was a good book I read some years ago called The Blessing. And The Blessing talks about the interaction between Isaac and Jacob. Remember, Isaac blessed Jacob. So I just want to pull out some points real quick to get this conversation going. So just real quick, for those of you who are not familiar with the text, in Genesis chapter 27, 26 through 29, it says, and his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord have blessed. Therefore, God give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And so in this book, The Blessing, the authors pulled out some great points on how a dad can bless his children. All right. So follow me. Look at these points. There was a meaningful touch. Now, studies have shown that once kids go to grade school, dads stop appropriately touching their kids. They stop hugging them, kissing them, whether it's boy or girl, once they start going to grade school. Right. What are some things that come out between Isaac and Jacob? The meaningful touch, of course, that's when they embraced, kissed them, the spoken message. He gave words of affirmation and encouragement. He attached a high value, recognizing the valuing of the recipient, the son, picturing a special future, helping the recipient envision positive possibilities, and then active commitment, demonstrating ongoing support and love. And so the book pulls out, if you follow the pattern of Isaac and how he blessed his son Jacob, and you do that with your child, it could lead to some positive things, such as it prepares children for positive future relationships, including their relationships with God. It forces a deep sense of self-worth and emotional stability. And then it also reverses the curse. Situations where individuals missed out on a blessing, whether parents went through a divorce or adoption or blended families, then it provides hope for reversing negative patterns and finding blessings in challenging circumstances. So I guess we could stop right there and just pause. What are your thoughts on that example?
My first thought is maybe as a father, you ought to check your child's ID to make sure you're talking to the right one when you start throwing out blessings.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
He was blind though, right?
Yeah, he was blind.
He's blind. You smell. And another thing, if my daddy told me I smelled like a field, I'd go take a shower.
It was a blessed field.
The blessed field.
It was a blessed field.
You smell like a field, son.
But I thought that was interesting, though, the statistic. I mean, I think I like that they pointed out the touch, meaningful touch, and the fact that sometimes as kids get older, sometimes the father may, well, I don't know if it's the mother too, but sometimes the father may stop that, picking them up, hugging them, embracing them. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know. Our fathers here, was that your experience? Did you find that you were, what's the motivation for that? Is that they're growing up now, so now you want to treat them more less like a kid?
Yeah, that wasn't my experience. My dad was one of the most emotional guys. As a matter of fact, in my family, we all looked to my father for emotional support. My mother was more distant. As she aged, she became more supportive. My mother had been an orphan and had gone through some challenging things in the Deep South, and she had to learn those things. But my dad was very warm and effusive, and then I was a father of a little girl, and we were very, very close. I mean, and so it wasn't my experience that fathers were distant and non-tactile.
Yeah, well, maybe not so much of the distance, but just the affection. Just the hugging the child. Yeah. Let me just throw this out here.
Go ahead.
Just throw this out real quick. When I was in high school, one of my basketball coaches, he would pick us up, drive us all through the city, and pick up other guys to play on our team.
Right.
And one time, the coach went to these kids' home. It was twins. And one guy went to go knock on the door, one of our basketball players, and he came back like he saw a ghost. And he said, "Y'all not going to believe this. for one, these kids are they 6'8" and we're like 14. We're like, what? Oh yeah, we could. He said, but I saw the weirdest thing. Their dad kissed them to say goodbye.
Mm.
Yeah.
And he was like, and we was looking at like, what? He's like, yeah, he kissed them to say goodbye. And we was like, oh, these kids going to be weird. And then of course they got in the van, and both of them are 6'8", so nobody said nothing. But we was looking at like, man, that's just not. You just don't see that.
Yeah.
So
I didn't grow up with that. My dad wasn't. My dad is right now. He's more affectionate than he was then. Matter of fact, but when I was in the most excruciating trial of my life, is when I heard my dad say, "I love you." But for my kids, Keenan, I even now I still kiss them. My boys. I still kiss of course my daughter, but I kiss my boys, and they'll feel weird if
you don't.
We don't.
Yeah,
that's good. That's impressive.
There are guys. One of my best friends, Bishop Gilbert Coleman. You know, we meet each other now. We still kiss each other on the cheek. Now, I mean, look, you know. I think masculine affection has made a strong return in recent years.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You know, I don't want to put his name out there in case he doesn't, but one of my best friends. I mean, it doesn't. You know, we hug, and before we leave, we kiss. I mean, but not here. It's like up here-ish, you know, and we say I love you, but you have to end it with man. So you can't say I love you. We say I love you, man. we don't keep it away from it. But I think it's changing as you go along. I don't think it looks bad anymore. But I still stand with you, Keenan. I do stand with you that there was a time when I had to almost look at them to ask permission. Or there were times I believe that even in school, picking them up from TA and all of that, that it was not here, you know, or one of those things. But I think it quickly faded after a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can see, especially when you get into those early teen years, kids withdrawing a little bit, wanting to be independent and all of those things. So I don't know if that's the causality of it, but I can definitely see that. Like, I was one of those kids. Like, enough's enough. I gotta walk these streets, okay? You know, so I can definitely see that as well.
I think I would like to take it back a little more with premature kids who do not have affection from fathers, from mothers, or, you know, and I think studies have shown that when they actually touch the skin of, you know, the premature baby, it gets stronger. And so that touch is so important if that touch is so important for a baby that's like struggling to breathe and everything, like how much more important would it be to continue that, you know, throughout the lives of your kids?
Yeah.
Can I jump in this with Keenan real quick with what you just read? My dad, because of his eyesight, he doesn't have the eyesight that, matter of fact, he's blind. Let's just put it that way. And the one thing that he loves the most is when we'll rub his back or actually put my hand on his head and rub his head and whichever. My dad can tell who's who. Paul and I have similar voices, but we try not to talk yet, just to see if he'll know who we are. And Paul has a different touch than I have a different touch. He'll know who Gary is, but we're twins. But my dad, I could see how Jacob,
Isaac,
I know the Bible. So, I could see now how a dad would be able to give that blessing, because when my dad is feeling anxiety or restless, and I'll touch him, right, I could ask for $10,000 right there on the spot. And my dad would give it. I mean, and I know I'm really talking about literally. So it's this thing. He even called me after and said, I was able to sleep because you touched me. So I could see the switch. I could see why mom would say, go into the room smelling like this, because that's how your brother smells and that's how your this smells, in order to. And I think we need more of sensitivity, not with the eyes, but how we can express love without having to see someone. But and to be honest with you, my love language, and I know my dad's love language, is touch.
Yeah, embrace your kids.
Yes.
Dads, please give your kids. Don't stop hugging your kids. Hugging and kissing your kids.
Very important.
Because you never know what could happen too.
Megs, where your family from, Megs?
My mom's from Guadalupe. My dad's from Dominica.
I don't know how it is, and I can plainly say this because of Caribbean, and I'm not going to say all. I'm not going to blanket it, but a Caribbean father. My Caribbean father showed love different ways. I'm just going to say it that way. Bringing a check and putting it on the table, that's love. You know what I mean? That's his way of loving. But again, until I was 23, 24, I didn't hear my dad say I love you until I was 24 years old.
And something how you mentioned that, because I was going to say some of the other things was, the spoken message, words of affirmation and encouragement kind of goes hand in hand with the meaningful touch. Also hearing a father kind of pour into a child, those words. I mean, I can still think of the things my dad used to say to me as a child that have impacted how I view myself, and even who I feel I am, because that's who my dad said I was. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, those words are so powerful, particularly coming from a father. They have so much meaning. So that's why be careful what you say, because whether it's good or bad, children are ingesting that, and they're identifying themselves based on what how the father sees them, and many times even sometimes more than the mother.
True.
Yeah.
Can I give you the line that my father said to me that changed the trajectory of my life at that point?
Get out of my room.
Yeah, that's it. Get lost, boy. He said to me, if nobody loves you, I do. And then he said, I love you. He didn't just blanket it and mix it. And that was the change for me. That was the change for me.
Wow.
And I think, it's hard to be able to say, if you didn't see it a lot, it's hard to manufacture that. So it was easy to tell my daughter I love you, but it took some time to even write it to my children that I love you. It comes easier now, but I like what you said, Keenan. I don't want to say practice it, but show it, and it'll come through.
On November the 26th, my dad and I, we were laughing and joking, and I had just turned 17, 1973, November 26th, turned 17, and we were laughing. He said, yeah, I hear you counting that. And my dad said to me, well, I always prayed to see my boys become men, and I said, I don't have any boys anymore. And I grabbed him. I said, man, I'm still your baby boy, because I was the youngest, and my dad and I were extremely close. We were laughing and joking. The next morning, 2:00 in the morning, he woke up. He said, I can't breathe. 2:30, he was dead. So the day before that, I can remember it like it was yesterday. We were laughing, joking, and then he was gone. But my memory of my father is always of the tenderest engagement. There were a couple of times we crossed swords, but it was nothing. I mean, not even a dim reflection or assault on the years of laughter that we shared. My dad was funny. Now, he didn't accomplish much. My dad didn't graduate from high school. He was smart, but never graduated from high school. But I can remember to this day the level of comfort and the level of security that I felt in the presence of my father. And my dad hadn't accomplished much, and he was just a guy. But man, that dude, when I learned to say Father God, it was easy, because Father meant something to me.
Wow, it's powerful.
So you did not have a father wound Wound, as they call it. Yeah.
No, my dad was. I mean, to this day, I can still laugh at stuff he said. You know.
And you said you were 17, Tally, when he died?
17 when he died. Yeah.
And that memory is so vivid. So many years later.
No, November the 27th, 2:30 in the morning. My father was gone. You know.
Wow.
Impact the dads.
Yes. So yeah, thanks, Keenan. That was great. That story definitely, I think, is a great example of the impact.
But just on the biblical side of it, that is one of the most distorted, twisted familial stories ever. I mean, here's a guy talking all this yang to the wrong dude about the fact that he's dying. 20 years later, when Jacob come back, he still ain't finished dying. Well, could be something to eat. I'm about to die. And he causes all of this headache because he's about to die. 20 years later, he still ain't dead.
Oh my goodness!
I would have said, "Let me help you out, brother."
Grace and mercy.
That was his will. He was trying to write it down. Or say it loud, I guess.
Great story. Those Old Testament stories, they have to be read. Oh, man. Dr. Letson down at Hampton talked about, interpreting the Bible well. A lot of times we read things in the Bible and we think that the Bible is being instructional, when in actuality it's simply sharing.
Right. Yeah. Documenting something happened. All right, let's keep the conversation going.
Let's keep it going.
Blessing, impacts.
Okay. All right. So statistics. Here's some statistics. The screen is a little, don't worry about what it says on your left. But living arrangements, 42% of Black children live in a 2-parent household. That's according to blackdemographics.com, and they got that from the 2019 census report. And 58% of Black fathers live with at least one of their children. Fatherly involvement, 72.7% of Black fathers engage. And how you determine engage, but engage in daily activities with their children, whether they live with them or not. That's according to Black demographics.com and the Washington Informer. So I'm gonna come back to those statistics. I got some more for you though. No, actually, let's stop there. Let's stop there with those statistics right there before we go to the next one. So what do y'all think about those statistics right there? Anything alarming jump out to you? I think is somebody's fudged it, or what do y'all think?
That's what I wanted to ask. Keenan, that looks great. Is that it looks like a great improvement, right?
Yeah, it does.
But I also think that media helps us along with that. When you see Jay-Z with his you see, and I'm talking about this, but when we were growing up, we had Bill Cosby with the Cosby Show that was followed by A Different World. There were strong men even in A Different World. A Different World was a college, right? Yeah. Right. So he had even strong men there, though he was a cook. Tally. You guys remember some of these guys were cooks. And so it didn't show them as being highly educated, but they were the ones that were teaching those who were in college. I mean, they had all these little innuendos that was in there. But we have a blessing. I don't know how Tally. I see GP with his daughter. I see Keenan with his son. The ministry forges us a chance to spend time with our children if we want to. Yeah. And I'm adding if you want to, because you have to make the time. So I didn't have soccer mom. I was soccer dad, taking them from one place to the other, etc. So I can kind of see now, if you're walking in the mall, I see black fathers with their children, and it's almost like a badge of honor to be like, this is my, the baby daddy, or whatever the case may be. It's like a badge of honor to say, you can have them, but I'm gonna need my kids on the weekend, or I'm gonna teach my kids on the weekend. It's like a badge of honor now, even in the streets, to be able to do that. So I could see the numbers being high like that.
There was a few years ago, there was a trend on Facebook, at least amongst the people I'm with, that every Father's Day, there were a group of single, I'm going to use the, quotation, single Black moms who would bemoan the fact that they're also fathers and and there was this pylon.
I remember that.
And, depending on what circles you're around, there's a perception of Black fathers. And I don't want to negate their experiences. But I also need to highlight the fact that our legal system does not lend itself to Black men, allowing Black men to be fathers in a lot of situations.
Sure.
Right. But even with all that aside, the stats are the stats. Our generation, a lot of them, and the generations before experienced having fathers that didn't want them. And I'm seeing high rates of men stepping up in a lot of situations and being the best fathers that they can be. And I applaud whenever I see a Black man. It doesn't have to be, out and open. And I know them personally. I always commend them for being available, just showing up and offering encouragement and being loving and supportive. I'm always, elated to see that. So,
yeah. And I feel like, there was a period of time, I remember when that statistic was significantly lower, and it was like almost, you would see even documentaries on where are the Black fathers. It's like there is like this great concern. And I don't know, I was thinking about, as you said, Pat, maybe it has a lot to do with, being able to see more figures taking this on, and saying, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, it's cool to be a good dad now, but also looking at fathers, I think the thing I picked out from the statistic, let me just say that, is that they are not necessarily in the two-parent household. Their involvement is not based on whether or not they are still with the mother. They are still actively involved, whether they're with the child's mother or not. And to me, that's encouraging, because there were times where, and sometimes, as you said, sometimes the legal system, other things prevented the father. They wanted to, but they were prevented from being involved in the child's life. And I think now that we're seeing more father involvement, and now that fathers are proving that they do want to spend time with their children, courts are even, it's not as clear cut as it used to be that, it's all to the mother straight shoot. Now they're actually taking into consideration, okay, so what is the father doing? How is the father showing their involvement, when they're custody situations like that? So I'm happy to see, and that was from 2019. So I would actually think that an even more current statistic would show that number higher. And that's from my own observation.
Can I ask a question? So the death of Kobe Bryant did a number on Black men and men around the world. And up until that time, I don't remember much about the girl dad movement. So I don't know if there's a research project or, data on the impact that Kobe Bryant had on fathers.
Or even just that experience of a father and child, and then there's loss. So then other people are saying, wow, time is precious. I want to spend more time with my children, because you never know. That's a great possible case study. But you're right. # girl dad.
Men in general tend to engage in activities at which they perceive that they might be successful. That's what men do. I mean, because we tend to not, you don't find a lot of guys jumping into volcanoes, because we know that's not a successful venture. You just don't. And so one of the problems that men have had is that, especially Black men, we knew that we were not going to have the accoutrements and the opportunities to be, quote, successful, unquote, as a father. We found it hard to get jobs. We were disproportionately arrested. And so men subconsciously shrank back from the task of doing something that they would not be, quote, successful at, subconsciously. we're becoming more conscious now of the fact that you don't make perfect the enemy of good. I may not be a perfect father, but I can contribute. I can do something. So a lot of men now are beginning to take on the task, saying, I know that things may not necessarily be in my favor. You know, my name isn't Biff Will Statler from the suburbs. You know, I'm Willie Smith, and I might not have the best job, and I don't have the best skills, but I can still do something. So Black fathers are starting to step up more, you know, to do the task that at one point they felt that they were going to fail at.
I think that's a good point, Allie, because a lot of times people define the role of the father as being this provider or protector. And if men felt like they couldn't come with all this money, or then they weren't worthy. But now I think a lot more focus is on the attention and time spent with the children. And people are like, hey, I may not have any money. We may not be able to do much, but I can spend time with you, you know, and they're seeing the value increase.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a study done, I forgot by who, but just spending 20 minutes as a dad, just spending 20 minutes with your child, boy or girl, son or daughter, it does significant, has paid significant dividends down the line, you know, and some parents, they'll say, well, I don't have money like that. I can't just keep doing stuff with my child. No, you don't have to just sit with your child, do whatever they want to do.
Go for a walk.
Talk, whatever. You know, it pays off in the long haul. And I know for me, and I wonder how it was for you all. I know Tally shared, Pat shared, but for myself, I grew up in a single parent household, and in my neighborhood, nobody on my block had their dad in their home.
Wow.
Like nobody. Like you just didn't see it. And the one friend who I did have, who had a dad, who grew up with his dad, I asked him one day, I was probably like 9 years old, 9 or 10. I said, what do your dad do? I really didn't know. Like, what's the purpose of that? And this is what he told me. He said, all he does is lecture me. That's it. And I thought to myself, I don't need that. I'm good. You know, but thank God my mom was able to get me around men, from my basketball coaches who really, really poured into me. And I had great uncles and cousins and grandfathers who filled in that gap. So, but I just wonder, how was it for you all? Did you grow up with your dad? Was he there or?
Yeah, I grew up with my dad. My dad is kind of on the stoic end of the spectrum. Most of the pastors that have pastored him would consider him a troublemaker. He's very vocal about the things that he believes in. That's my dad, right? Was never an elder, but can change the temperature in a room, right? And so Pat knows exactly what I'm describing here.
No, my mother told my dad, your sons are going through what they're going through for how you treated pastors.
Yeah, you know, so he was a plumber. I think he finished high school. You know, very intelligent guy. You know, ambitious. But the compliments, you would have to really do something amazing to get a compliment out of my father, right? But when you got the compliment, you held on to that thing. There was no doubt. There was no fluff in my dad. He's not just going to tell you stuff just to tell you things. He's not that guy. But whatever he says, he means, and he stands on that. And so, if my dad is backing me up, I have the military on my side.
Wow.
That's just a feeling, right? If he's behind me, that's kind of, you know, I'm a little bit more jovial than my dad, a lot more jovial than my dad. But if I pay you a compliment, I'm genuine in it, and I stand on those words. He taught me how to be loyal. Like my dad's biggest thing was never be a follower, always be a leader. And even in adulthood, I have a difficulty just following whatever it is. I have to question. I have to be able to buy in. I want to be able to be a part of the process, not just follow along. And so, there were some times, especially with him and my brother, they're very, very similar. They clashed a lot, but I was more of my dad's son. Wherever he went, I'm there. You know, he owned several businesses. I was there. He decided he wanted to get into real estate in Philly. We were in the Bandos in Philly.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Well, I didn't know you were a Philly guy.
I'm not. We spent the weekends in Philly trying to flip those houses
and then jump back to New York City.
Jump back to New York.
We don't tolerate that well.
But I was there. I was his ride along, and so that was my relationship with my dad. Early on, it changed when we got to adulthood.
Yeah, Miggs, I can roll with you on that, and I have no fear. My dad listens to the show. It was very recent, maybe in less than 10 years, where my dad had gathered the three of us together, all boys, to apologize. And listen, I wish I could have been a better father. I wish I could have been this to you and that to you. And that was it. My dad was the guy that hung out at college because he couldn't get in. You understand what I'm saying? You know how we at Oakwood and you'd be like, oh, do you go here? But you carry a bag. You know what I mean? Like education was a big deal to my father. So my dad loved to read. For us, I think my dad probably had something like a 5th or 6th grade education, but he loves to read. And so for us, we had to come home, do our schoolwork, and read. So it wasn't a part of it. We always had to read. And his handwriting was so bad that I don't know if you ever looked at my brother's handwriting or our handwriting. People say we write like girls because it's like, and I don't know why they say it, but I think women have better handwriting or whatever. My dad was
girlish.
One more time, Tally.
No, I said, yeah, that's probably right. What you just said. Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll rewind the tape. But he used to literally hit our hands when our handwriting wasn't. But he stopped to say, I wish that I was better. Now he taught us stuff. Like you said, Miggs, I always followed him around. So to me, I'm not taking anything to the shop. I'm going to fix anything that I can fix first before I can send it there. My dad does refrigerators and air conditioning and all of that. My dad retired at 52 years old. His whole thing is stay to the mark, whatever it is, just keep to the mark. So, but he loves the church. I think church to my father is heaven. I'm sorry, guys, but the sanctuary is still the sanctuary. You know what I mean? The Bible is still whatever it says. And so, but he apologized to us for being so strict. I don't know if sometimes we would have rather an alcoholic come home, not a beaten alcoholic, but a quiet alcoholic come home. But he was really strict, and I accepted the apology to the hilt because his character has changed after the apology. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, I respect my dad a great deal, but we took good and bad from him. And we got to admit it. When you grow with them, you take your good and you take your bad. My father's humor is high because he doesn't want to really tell the people around him how he feels. And we ended up doing the same thing. We use humor to hide what we don't want to make a mistake saying. And we carry that into our lives with us. So it's not that we're not serious, but we caught from my dad that tell a joke here or tell a joke over here because it'll hide actually the way you are or what you want to say or express yourself. So we carry the good and bad.
I'm waiting to hear from GP because I met his father at his wedding. So.
Yeah. So I grew up with my dad and mom in the house. My father was always present, always a provider, always a hard worker, but emotionally, he was not present. So when my dad came home from work, straight to his office to read books until it's bedtime. And I didn't realize until I was a teenager that my dad never knew his father, was raised by his grandma.
Here we go.
His mother died when he was young.
Wow.
Estranged from his sister since he was 15. Doesn't know where she is till this day.
Wow.
Didn't have much family and married my mom, who had 15 siblings.
Wow. What a shift. Yeah.
And so honestly, our relationship, I mean, now my dad and I are like best friends, but you know, growing up, he never really, you know, connected with us in the house on an emotional level, but he was always an encourager. He always cared about our success, us doing our best. He was passionate about ministry, never a pastor, lay guy, never had any, you know, accreditation from any conference, but he planted 2 churches every Saturday afternoon. Like, come on, Justin, let's go. We're going to the hood, passing out literature, doing Bible studies, going to the nursing home. So, you know, I was already engaged in ministry before I even ever thought about doing ministry. And, you know, just a great guy. And so I realized, listen, until you know somebody's story, you won't understand their behavior. And so I really have appreciation for
true.
Yeah.
GP, when I see you around your daughter,
I know.
Amazing. You're just, I have to say this. No words. I have no words.
And that's the shift. And I talked to my dad about it. I made a vow to my dad. Listen, I will not raise my child the way you raised me. I'm going to do better. And he knows that because he realizes his trauma prevented him from being the best dad that he could have been.
Sure.
And so we've had that conversation where, listen, I forgive you for not being fully emotionally present in the house. You're still a great dad, but I'm going to do it this way. And so even now I have to kind of remind him with my daughter, like, hey, dad, engage, connect. Libby's here because that's just the way he is.
Wow. If I had known about him starting the 2 churches and doing all that work, I think we would have hired him rather than hire you.
Why not? You know, I want to ask Keenan this. I know, Keenan, you're running this, but I wanted to ask you this. I've been around your way.
Where are you from in Brooklyn? Canarsie? Where are you from, man?
No, I'm from Coney Island.
I'm from Canarsie. Coney Island, Canarsie, and Coney Island, 2 different spots. We're kind of like up the Bell Parkway from each other. But we didn't want to go to Coney Island. I mean, I think when people hear Coney Island, you hear Coney Island, like the beach area.
Yeah.
People think of, but it's a hood.
Yeah, let the out of towners come. They
think of basketball.
They know where they could well,
basketball. You're right. I think of basketball too. Yeah. How did you have a challenged child
with special needs?
Yeah, special needs. Me too. You have the greatest son in the world. He's worked with. Don't make your eyes like that.
Amen. No, amen.
No. And the greatest. I had the opportunity of hiring 2 of your children, your daughter, your first daughter, and your son. Your son talks about you all the time. All the time.
What was he saying, though, Pat? What was he saying?
Worst guy he has ever met, and he hates him. And he no, he
probably a little bit of truth in there.
Let me tell you what he talked about most while we were together. The years that he was working with me, it was always your attitude and your character during sports. I believe that a person who is behind on the clock and still maintains character is who the person really is. And that's what he talked about you the most.
That's nice.
Amen.
Like the 4th time that Keenan's name has been associated with sport. Do you really have any game, Keenan, or is this just...
Yeah, you got game.
Well, Tally, I tore my Achilles last year, so I'm not what I used to be.
Oh, okay.
But it's funny. I'm not trying to. Well, before I became a Seventh-day Adventist, I used to tell people I played ball again. I'm like, man, just Google me, man. You know, that because I had a profile to play ball overseas. I was gonna go play. Had some offers to play overseas, but it didn't pan out. So,
oh wow,
because God wanted you in the field.
Yeah, I was okay. I was okay, Tally. I was okay. Just all right.
Yeah, the older we get, the better we were, man. I mean, shoot, I remember hitting a 5-run home run one time.
5-run.
5-run. You're talking about cricket.
Wow.
Amy, I said you wanted to say.
I'm looking up. Oh,
Oh,
Keenan, I'm Googling you.
No, it's not there no more.
I was coming with the punchline, but it didn't work. I was coming with the punchline.
Good, Amy.
I feel like I'm getting a little emotional
Right.
with the way that you guys are talking about your dads and stuff. I did grow up with my dad as well. But just like GP, he wasn't emotionally there, and sometimes not physically there. Like he was there. He worked a lot. He worked for the government, and then he worked as a taxi at night. So I barely saw him. Maybe sometimes in the mornings before he went off to work. And I'm the youngest. So, I was daddy's little girl growing up. And I do remember some things where we spent some time together, mainly, uh, church. Like that was the thing. Like we spent church together. He read the Bible to us sometimes. But it got to a point where I would like try to stay up late so that I could see him, and he wouldn't be there. And of course I have to go to sleep so I could get up for school. And I would call him, and like I couldn't get him, and it was just like it got to a point where I just stopped calling because I just felt like he wasn't going to come home. And then I always felt that he took his jobs much more seriously than he did trying to spend time with his family. And like Pat said, maybe that is something that Caribbean fathers do. I don't think it's all of them for sure, but my dad was a little older, and so he probably had that mentality, and he brought home the check and cooked the food sometimes, and that was enough for him, but it wasn't enough for me. And then I found out some things that I didn't like, which I wish I never found out. And that kind of pushed our relationship even further apart. And I have to admit, like, I hated my father for a very long time.
Wow.
It was really hard, like hearing the stuff that I did hear about him. And I held that really deep because I looked up to him, and I wanted him to be this person that, that I can just come to, and talk about stuff, but everything else seemed more important than me. And so I didn't, so I just didn't. But it took me a long time. And then he got into a car accident, and he was in the hospital for about a year and a half, 2 years almost. And you could see, we wasn't sure if he was going to make it. Wasn't sure if it didn't look good, but we were hopeful for sure. And the day I prayed about it, I kept talking to God. I said, I need to find a way to forgive him before he passes away, to tell him, I didn't like the things that he's done, like stand up for myself, stand up for my siblings, whatever it is. And I think the day And it was one Friday night that I was at this like Vespers with my friends, and we were talking about stuff, and I went outside and I was praying and I was like, Lord, like let me just like give this a weight. I mean, let this burden go for me. And I felt it. I felt it like released, and I felt it like go. And I was like, oh, like I just feel so much better about the situation. And I said I was gonna tell him, I was gonna be like, Dad, like I forgive you. You know, that was gonna be what I wanted to say. And the next day, and I was gonna do it the next day because next day was Saturday, and it was late already. So I was like, I'll do it in the morning or whatever. And then my sister calls me and she was like, "Do you have anyone around?" I said, "My roommate is around." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Oh, you need to. I think it's important that you have someone with you because I have something I need to share with you." And I said, "Okay." And so right there and then she was like, "Your father passed away, or dad passed away." And I was like, wow, like I couldn't believe it because it was like, even though I had, prayed over it and I had released it and everything, I still didn't get to tell him. And so I think that was like, that hurt the most out of everything. And I really did wish that I could have told him how I felt, but I do feel better now. Sorry.
No, that's cool.
That's okay.
That's
That's
cool.
okay.
That's cool.
I feel better now about everything, and even with what GP said. I mean, I don't know how he grew up. My grandmother passed away as well. I don't know how he grew up or anything, but I'm sure that it wasn't as great for him, growing up.
Sure.
Because I do think my grandfather passed away like
May I
at
interrupt to ask you where your dad was from, Amy?
he's Caymanian.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, I don't like to make blanket statements, Amy, but everybody who's talking, you could kind of resonate with each one.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, what? We and it's a heartfelt story. There's someone who's listening to this that has not forgiven their dad.
And I think I just want to say, like, don't wait until it's too late, because you never know what could happen. And it kills me because I had like a whole year and a half to get over this, and I was just too stubborn, and I didn't want to, and I kept saying, "Oh, he's gonna get better. It's gonna be fine." But I think that if anything you take away from my story, like, don't get so angry that you can't see, like, your father might not change, but you have to change yourself.
Right. Whoa, that's deep right there.
Yeah, I want to share, Amy. Thank you for inspiring this. I spent 7 years not communicating with my dad.
Wow.
I was an adult. I came home from doing Bible work, actually with Pastor Peeler in Atlanta, and some stuff came out, and 7 years, and within that span of time, one of the most agitating thing that I dealt with, where people would say, "Are you still not over that?"
Yeah.
And that, again, I take this from my father, the stubbornness that made me even more distant. Like and the conversation between my father, my brother, and I think it took a few days for us to get to some resolution. By this time, my brother, and I were both married. My brother had the 2 kids. We had moved on in terms of our lives, and we just didn't like how things unfolded in our household. And it was interesting in that conversation, and it was somebody had to facilitate the conversation, right? Because everyone who tried to to intervene beforehand failed, because you keep telling me I need to go speak to my father, but I'm not the one who created it. So I had all these excuses, all this pent up anger and aggression, right? And a lot of people, I think, they mismanaged their opportunities to speak to that, right? But when we finally had the conversation and we were finally able to square things out, because within the span of 7 years, your stories, they become a little skewed.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've realized about men, when we're amongst each other, there's no fluff. There's no room for fluff in that space. We got to speak straight, and we got to get things right before we can move forward. We can't just like, well, this is your truth, my truth. No. In this space, we got to speak the truth. And so that took several days for us to get to that place. When I left that conversation, I felt the burden lift off me. Like I can be in the space with my dad and be okay. Mind you, just to give you another point of reference, a month before that, his sister was being funeralized in New Jersey. And that was the first time I saw my dad in 7 years.
Wow.
First time we were in the same room for 7 years. And that was one of his closest sisters, right? Which I didn't know at the time, right? Because my dad had 15 siblings, right?
Wow.
I think there were more, but they passed away earlier.
He was from Dominica, did you say?
Dominica, yeah. My grandparents were Catholic. Let's just leave it at that.
What kind of vitamins do they have in Dominica? I'd like some.
You said what?
What kind of vitamins do they have over there? 15 kids?
Listen, put it like this: we got many rivers. Right. But yeah. So yeah, we were in the same room in the church, and we avoided each other the entire weekend. The repast was at a house. We avoided each other. Just tension.
Yeah.
I
can't imagine. That's tough. That's hard.
It's hard, especially when, like, again, my dad is the guy, whose words held weight in my life. And I heard some of the things that he was saying about me personally, and that fueled the anger even more. Right. So when we were able to finally, make peace, I realized, man, it was 7 years. I didn't count the years before that moment. 7 years. And my dad, he's older now. Anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. So
I want to caution people. I mean, listening to Amy, listening to Miggs, and I yield to Keenan on this one, who is actually a professional counselor. But anger is appropriate, but at times anger can become it pretends to be your protector. Like we hold on to anger because we think that it keeps us safe from the thing that we're angry about. And we carry it, and anger sit down on the couch next to you, say, yeah, man, that SOB, and that means son of a brother. A
brother, son of. Okay, go ahead.
He ain't no good. You need to keep him away from you. And anger will convince you to maintain distance when they're anger, like pain. Pain is healthy. It tells you something's wrong. But after a while, if it isn't addressed and managed, it can become
Tally. So could humor.
So can humor.
The same. So here we are talking about anger.
Continuum, yeah.
And here we are talking about humor. I think Mig said it, or there's the truth. There's your truth. Say what you said again, Migs.
Oh, I was saying there's no room for my truth, your truth.
Right. It's got to
only
be
get to the truth. Yeah.
But anger tells you that your truth is the truth, So,
Yes.
Anger,
Yeah.
anger is a secondary emotion.
yeah.
So anger is on the tip of the iceberg. You got to go underneath, and what's really going on there is normally hurt, guilt, pain, shame, all those different things. The anger is just there. That's the mask.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be vulnerable. So you gotta put the best projection of self, and so anger helps that's your defense right there.
And Keenan, fatherhood taught us, or the culture of fatherhood teach us to hide those type of feelings. That if you felt guilt or if you feel shame, put it on the back burner for right now, and just be the provider. The provider is what's killing us. You know what I mean? Because they told us for so many years that your chest is big because you put the check on the table, because you buy this, or because you take care of. But man, I tell you, my son is right now, he's going through some financial difficulties, and not difficulties, I'm going to call them challenges, because he's all right. And the first thing that I thought of was, come home. That's the first thing I thought of. And why? So that I could provide for you. Why? So that I could cuddle you. Why? So that I could, when the truth is, you need to stay out there and work your challenges out, right? Because sometimes this is what we do. I'm saying this as a father. It's time for me as a father in this age to stop cuddling my children. There's a time, and it hurts. Megs, GP, there's a time you got to let them go. And it's the hardest part of fathering, is to let them go. I think of Luke 15, when Dad, give me my inheritance now, so that I can go ahead and so that I can. The thing about the father that got me the most concerning this is that he was always looking out for him. He was always looking out. We could look out from afar. You don't have to look out front and be right there in that space. I just wanted to share that piece.
If I can just piggyback on what Pat was saying, I know I grew up in the era, my parents were together too. We're all talking about how our parents worked a lot. They weren't home, at the time. Work ethic was really strong, having a job, having to work and provide for your family. It seems like that was the primary thing that many of the fathers were thinking. I remember hearing my mom say a lot to my dad, spend time with your son, because dad was always gone and she was looking out for my brother. He needed that fatherly influence, even though my sister and I were there too. But it was the thing, right? And my dad was very happy-go-lucky, but he wasn't home much. He was a singer, sang in a quartet group, and sometimes we would go. Yeah, Daddy would always sing, remind me of Tally. And my dad used to think he was one of the best singers. He could sing, but the quartet groups, they could right, and Daddy would do that, and we tease him a lot, but we had to get used to, dad not being there a lot, and so my memory, I mean, he came home every day, but my memories were mostly with my mom, and and so, and us, we saw my mom making a lot of sacrifices. And so my dad learned from his dad, and he thought he was doing what was right. And I don't think that they realized the damage that it plays on the family later, because everybody's just trying to survive. And as we could see from our own conversations, that there are issues that are there. And I think in that era, a lot of the fathers had a lot of the same type of issues. But I always learned to forgive my dad, and he's passed now for the past 3.5 years. But we were always close, as close as we could be. But I just wanted to throw a shout out to my family and my dad. I mean, he didn't always make the best choices, but he was my father, and I loved him, and his love was strong for us too, even though his love was what he knew to do, but his love was great for us just the same.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to thank everybody for being vulnerable in this space. I think, and I will say, I don't want to leave my dad out. My dad I grew up with my father in my home, and he's still very much an intricate part of my life. I count myself among the very blessed in that I still see him. I still feel like his little girl, but I know he respects me as the woman that I am. And so I'm just giving my shout out to Frederick Lewis Betts. But I do want to say that I appreciate hearing the stories or experiences from everyone, because I think we represent our audience in some ways. I think all of us represent different experiences of those that will be listening to this. And I think it's important to share that it's not always one way. Everyone doesn't always have the father like this or the father like that. Sometimes our father relationships are challenging. But there are lessons that we can learn from each other in hearing these experiences. So I just kind of wanted to say thank you to everybody for being willing to share about your own father and some of the lessons you've learned. I know, Keenan, I know you had so much more for
all I had, if I was going to keep going, was the church attendance. Just the statistics on that, and some common myths and the realities. That's all I had. If I was going to keep going, that's all I had.
Yeah, next year that's going to be great, man. I just
do it. But no, we'll get to it.
Wait, can I say this? Can I say this? So for my daughter, my oldest daughter, now I don't know if she's telling the truth or not, and I believe she is. But she told me something a couple of months ago. She said, "Dad, you know you're my best friend," and I didn't want to show her.
That's so nice.
Yeah, and I was like, but that just touched me so much.
Yeah. That's
25, big. About to be 26.
Oh, that's
and
huge.
For her to say that, I'm like, oh, praise God. Just praise the Lord. I don't want to be your friend when I'm raising you, but when you're an adult,
we can be best.
That's a beautiful thing.
You'd be surprised how many daughters want to be best friends with their fathers.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, because they play such an important role. All right, guys, we've had a little heavy moments, but we did want to heavy and therapeutic.
Yeah, dads, we need you. Tasha, I just want to say that dads, we need you all. We need y'all. We need you. You are important. You are important.
Very much so. And I think that that's what each story, each experience exemplifies, the role and the impact that the father plays in each person's life. So we did want to, I challenge our fathers here to share with us a good old fashioned dad joke. Now, you guys know that dad jokes are typically, they follow a certain criteria, right? Usually they're not very good and they're a little corny, right? But that's what makes them dad jokes.
I don't have any of those.
So I want to see from our dads or anyone whoever else has a dad joke. Let's see who's going first. Who has a dad joke though? And in our audience, we're not live, but we want you to vote in the comments on who has the best dad joke. Okay. All right.
And it's how corny it is, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll leave my good stuff alone. So I got one.
Go ahead.
Why did Rihanna want to have a baby so fast?
Why did she want to have a baby so fast?
I don't know.
That's a riddle.
Because she wanted one ASAP.
Oh golly, dude.
That's her.
That's not a dad joke. That's a bad.
well, her child's father is ASAP Rocky.
ASAP Rocky.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the bad part about it. I got it.
Yeah, I was like, all right. We'll give you a little. The meter's going up about right here.
Yeah.
All right, I think I got one.
All right, me.
All right. After an unsuccessful harvest, why did the farmer decide to try a career in music? After unsuccessful harvest, why did the farmer decide to try a career in music? Because he had a ton of sick beats.
Oh, God,
I like that one.
I feel like Isaac. That smells like a field.
That was good.
I like it because I had to think about it, and then I got it. I like that moment where it's like,
yeah, like what?
eat, like beef that you eat. Yeah, okay, got it. All right, who's next? This is getting better and better.
Okay, here's corny. Here's come. What do you call a security guards for Samsung?
A security guard for Samsung.
Oh boy. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, I get it.
Galaxy.
Hey!
I tell you.
All right, who's next? GP, you have one?
Okay. Which days are the strongest? The answer is Saturday and Sunday because the rest are weekdays.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Come on, it can't be funny, guys. Come on, it can't be.
I'll give my old one. Why is it that people laugh so little in the state of Hawaii? It's because it's Aloha State.
Pat, you heard that twice. And
probably
you still
the funniest.
Listen, why I'm laughing is because Tally said it before and I used it before.
I did too. I used it on my wife. I did.
Aloha.
We're giving permission to all of our viewers and our listeners. Feel free to take any of the dad jokes. Did we have anyone else? I didn't want to exclude anyone. All right, but those were good, guys. All right, you delivered. I appreciate that.
Good job.
We're dads. It's what we do.
All right, you deliver. All right. Once again, thanks for the discussion, guys, about fathers. We're once again wishing a happy Father's Day to each upset father and father to be one day. And but we thank you guys for engaging in this discussion. Thank you for being great examples of fathers.
You got to get Pats in there. What do you call a Frenchman wearing sandals? Philippe Philip.
Oh my goodness.
We're never leaving. This is crazy.
All right, no, this is good. At least we're ending with laughs. But yes, have a great Father's Day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your special
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Yes, and we'll see you back here next week, same time, same place.
Because
Take care, everybody.